This is the world I created, but there's something very wrong with it. I don't know what caused it to load in wrong, but it loaded in wrong. I'm kind of considering just shrugging my shoulders and not bothering to do the plot game because I can't get it to run properly. I configured a just a generic shoot 'em up level. I might as well boot that up while I wait. Oh, fuck it. This is the open combat level I've designed. I threw it together in about an hour so that we'd have something to do after the adventure level. We didn't have anything to do with the adventure level, it was broken, so this was the only level that we actually got to play on. I figured I'd talk about level design, give you some insights into my thoughts on the matter, and maybe that'll make this video worth watching. So this is a very old school level design. It's basically a Quake level, except it does terrain damage because it's in Space Engineers. So that part was fun. It was the most interesting thing about it. You can see there are 2 primary spawn points and 4 secondary spawn points, all of which have some armament. I didn't bother to make any decent ejector system. You can make a level that runs more easily than this, but I didn't really want to. I thought this was just going to be the dessert after 2 hours of something else. Let's talk about the idea of level design and how you make levels work. Especially with a kind of competitive multiplayer situation, you're going to have levels that follow a couple of basic ideas in order to allow competitive multiplayer to happen. One of those ideas is that there need to be several ways to get from point A to point B, and they need to be half permeable. That is, we need to be able to have fun encounters, but we also need to be able to avoid those encounters and try and encounter those encounters and kind of control our own encounter rate based on how we move through the level. In this case, I've got a central chamber, a central hall, which obviously runs from one end to the other, and I also have 2 wings, and the wings are fairly complex in that there isn't just one path through them. If we go into the wings, you can see that they immediately split into a near and a far side travel. If you were going to go on the near side, you can keep your eye out and snipe against the far side or against the tunnel, but you're likely to get hit by those people as well. These can't see quite as much of the hall, but they can see across the hall and are better protected, as you can see. Whereas if you're going around on the outside, you're pretty much safe unless someone is waiting for you in this little maze. I also created a number of asymmetrical defensive positions, such as this one. Or this one. Or this one. These are positions where you can kind of hide and shoot at anyone you can see, but, and here's the key, they're not actually fortified. If I'm here, and I'm crouching down and I'm shooting at whoever comes in through that door, it's very easy to sneak around and come in from behind. This sort of stress is incredibly important when you're doing a competitive multiplayer map. You need to make sure that nobody ever feels safe.
Critical.
Now, Space Engineers only has medium-range weapons. Oh, that's me. Scared the heck out of me. Space Engineers only has medium-range weapons, so this, sniper position was no use at all. But it is still an interesting thing to include, and if you notice, while you have a good sight line, you also are very, very easy to sneak up on. These outcroppings prevent you from seeing the enemy until they are already on your butt. These primary spawn points are on a different level than the primary run, so most people are going to be fighting up here, and then down here we have the spawn point. Now that's on purpose. By taking it out of easy view, it means that it's very difficult for you to snipe against the spawn point. And similarly, it's easy for someone who's spawned in to listen, determine quickly whether there's footsteps to the right or the left, and go the other way. Now, we ban spawn camping just by friendly rules, but that's still a concern. You want your spawn points to be tucked away and protected while simultaneously not being channeled into an area, into a kill zone. So by sticking them down here on a lower floor, we give spawning players a little bit of protection and also the chance to run in whichever direction they think is going to be safest. In addition to all of this medium-range space that I built specifically with the rifle's range in mind, I also created this maze. This maze is a tight-in area where you can run to if you feel like you're being cornered or if you're out of health and you need to either escape or ambush the enemy. And it was useful. It was exactly what I intended it to be. Trying to find people in this maze was very tense because you can hear their footsteps, but there's no real line of sights. And even if you do spot them, it's very easy for them to change direction and double back and you'll lose them again. And I'll show you some footage of that. I also created this other entryway into our hall. Now this drop was intended to be a drop for people with no jetpacks, and that was to make the hall appetizing. So if you're fighting in this run and you get worried and you're getting your butt kicked, rather than trying to escape through the maze, you dive into the maze like you're going to walk through the maze and try and double back or whatever, but then you can just jump down into the hall. Another thing worth considering is that this level was designed specifically to allow damage to happen to it, and so certain things tended to get warped and explode. These windows, in particular, seem pretty useless. You can't see very much, but as they start to take damage, this whole area blows open, and you get a very, very good view of the whole hall. And I might have some footage of that too, although I'm not sure if I was recording. So that is how I designed this level. It's an old-school Quake approach. You offer complex sight lines, and you offer places where you can fortify yourself, but it leaves your back exposed. Obviously, the gunplay in Space Engineers is extremely basic, so we couldn't take full advantage of any kind of level design. But it was still an interesting thing to play in, and I think that most people enjoyed the the way which the level flowed, at least a little bit. The management of the inventory and the weapons and how the weapons felt, that's a different topic entirely, and that's obviously not a very high priority for the devs. If it was, they would have already allowed us to mod new hand weapons into the game, which they haven't done. So it's not something they care about. So we're playing with the idea that if your beacon is up, you're not a target, but unfortunately, I play with my HUD off because the HUD is ugly as hell. So, I don't know if any of you have ever played Silent Debugger. It was an old TurboGrafx-16 game. And the rooms would get damaged as you played. If you weren't careful, you would end up causing serious harm to your own space station if you were too slow or whatever. It was always really interesting. To me, it was a pretty terrifying game for a kid. The reason I'm talking about Silent Debuggers is because these are destructible elements, to the point where we blew up one of the medical bays. This is the other map I made. This was intended to be the primary map tonight. Unfortunately, I couldn't get it to work in multiplayer. So, oh well, no one got to play it. I'm going to take you on a tour and show you the kinds of things, the idea behind this base. You'll notice that some of the mods have decided to stop working right on the day when I wanted to have everything work, which might be why I couldn't get it to run in multiplayer. I guess that sort of thing happens a lot. So this is the medical bay where you're going to start, and there's the medical room, and some cryopods and stuff like that. And the idea with these kinds of adventure maps is that you start at one place and you try and figure out how to get to the goal, which is in this case just a way off of the rock. You can access these pretty easily by hitting T and looking, as you can see. So you can go around and find all of the various tablets, if you'd like, and see what people have to say. One of the things I focused on right from the beginning was trying to make all of the sightlines reveal stuff. So if you actually look around this survival map, you'll be rewarded by seeing stuff, seeing things where you're going to be going or what you're going to be doing. And every window shows something that gives away a little bit of what might be in the future. So I didn't just rely on tablets lying on floors. I also built a variety of views and some things to lure you out. So, if you're like, oh, I'm going to jump off here. Oh, I can make it. You can't make it. Obviously, the players do not have jetpacks or tools. They're going to find weapons, but they have to find them. They don't start with them. So here was the player's first challenge, at least in my mind, is getting through this area, but the door turns off if there's a pressure imbalance. And what that means is that there's no pressure out here, but there is pressure in there. So what you can do is hit this obvious button. And you can see that you have some kind of entrance into, it looks like maybe some kind of shaft of some kind. Hit this button here, and that closes up, and these open. And now you have entrances into these guys' rooms. Every room has its own little bit of uniqueness, but these are where you'll find your guns. These rooms have guns in them. But if you continue to explore around this corner, you're going to run into your first turret. There it is up there. It's not firing at me because I own it. But the idea is this would teach you a little bit about turrets. This button here does the same thing as the button outside, in that it opens this stuff up. The biggest difference is that this actually makes this area depressurize. If you go out here, there doesn't seem to be anything worth having, and you can fall off real easy. But down at the end, there is a little tablet. You can get a little bit more information about your situation from that. Now, since we've depressurized this area, we can exit through this door. Because the pressure is now equal. Characters are likely to spread out in every direction, and there's nothing in particular that says you should go this way rather than this way, except this way looks like it is open and damaged, and this way looks like it is closed and dangerous. Now, if the players do decide to go this way, there's nothing preventing that, except they don't have a gun yet, so if they round this corner, they're going to be in trouble, and hopefully that'll be enough to deter them. There's also a door here which leads out into what would be the botany area, but as you can see, it's busted up and there's no way through. Through here is the elevators, and this will just take you down to the next floor. These elevators do work, but they work badly, because that's the best I could make them work. And once again, there are several ways out here, and it's up to you how you want to go. There are no wrong choices. But over here, you can see that this area has been sheared away from the rest of the base. Now, in order to escape, we're going to need a ship, and there's a ship right there. This whole place is pretty dangerous, though. I mean, this is a total of 3 turrets between you and there. So, as you're walking down here, you notice that the buttons are red. They don't actually work, so we can't extend this bridge. This bridge is already extended. Solar panels, huh? There's no power, and the bridge doesn't work, but there are solar panels. They're all broken, though, so we would need to find some solar cells and a welder. Now you can actually get all the way back with just your feet. You don't have to die because you came over here. And as you come back through this area, this is the other direction, and this place is a lot more torn up. You can see there's a door here, but you can't open it, so you're obviously going to have to go around. Once you come around, you're faced with this sort of area. So there's like lots of buttons, and presumably you might try this button first, and you can see, oh, okay, so is that what it does? It opens that door, but it also closes the other door. This is an airlock, and this is why it requires 2 people. There are several airlock type situations, and you can't get through on your own. It's just physically not possible. you won't have a jetpack. Over here you can see that there is a hologram of a character wandering around. As you go towards it, fun little jump scare. Over here you have some buttons. Cargo locked. I can't reboot it. This is the door which you'll have to be gated through by a friend. I don't have any interest in trying to load this up in multiplayer anymore, so I'm going to push my way through using deletion. This is what your friend should have seen immediately. The blockaded wall and the little thing explaining that the blockades are there. And then maybe it would have occurred to him, oh yeah, I should tell the other guy to go around. Oh, cargo. Guns. More guns, because you're probably running out. Now, if a clever player will notice that they can come out here, and they're going to have to notice that. They don't really have any other way into this region. So if they come through here, they're definitely in the engineering area, and this place is sealed off, except you can pass through. You're going to get your ass kicked, but you can pass through. You can hit this button, and that'll raise up these doors. Now this whole area is pretty painless. You just gotta press the button to reboot the computer core. If we go back over here, then you can press the button, unseal OK. I forgot to do some random stuff here and there. I guess this really wasn't ready for complete prime time, but it not being able to load at all was a huge disappointment. If you come through here, you're going to enter into an area which is the cargo area, and this is where you need to unseal stuff. You can see that these doors are open. They would have been closed if we hadn't unsealed the door. Now the one we need to open is way in the back here. I need to adjust the range of their sensors, because that's...
All systems normal and online.
That's an interestingly short range. I thought it was longer than that. And there's lots of little musings about these stupid robots and how they're badly programmed. If we go over here, we're going to see that there are some solar cells. So that's where you get your solar cells. And if you let these guys get too close...
Goodbye, Captain.
They explode and you die.
Welcome, Captain. All systems normal and online. All systems normal and online.
Now, once you get the solar panels, you work your way back across and enter into this area again, and then you go over there and you repair those panels. Once they're repaired, you have power again. I guess I can simulate that by just doing it. And you can see the button turned yellow. And there you are. You're free. Well, I guess if you're not using your jetpack, you have to come around like this, which is fine. Now, I ended up smashing this door in. The idea is that this base has been hit by a lot of asteroids. And I had to do that because this tilt won't actually let you walk through doors. You can take it. Let's go. Rah! I have died. So, I couldn't get anything to load up. Very, very annoying. Next week we're going to do orbital support ships. Come by and bring some of your own designs or something from the workshop, or play with some of mine. It's going to be mostly demonstration and explanation oriented, so you're going to see dropships drop and that sort of stuff. But keep in mind, we are coming to the end of our space engineer's journey. I have a 2-week vacation coming up, and I'm not going to be able to play any computer games during that time. I don't feel like I'm going to want to pick Space Engineers up again after that. Because of that, we've only got maybe 2 weeks left before my involvement in Space Engineers is done. At least to this kind of extent. I'm certainly not going to keep spending 20 hours a week on it. This is ridiculous. Anyway, have a good one, and I hope I see you in the final weeks of Fleetbreakers.